Good evening, folks. This is Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update on Monday, November 27th, 9:50 p.m. Mountain Time, 2017. You're looking at the December 2nd through 5th forecast. It's showing 3 feet of snow right where I'm currently making the video. Now, I'm going to tell you this is anomalous because we don't get our winter blizzard until Christmas time. And we're about to get buried here on the first week of December. This is unusual since I've been here several years. The first major snow comes always exactly on the 23rd of December. Now it's coming on the 3rd. We'll get to that. Let's get to the update, guys. Britain to be hit by 3 weeks of minus 12°C Arctic blasts and significant snowfall, colder than Iceland, as health chiefs issue warning. Now, guys, you beg for it. You got it. But it has nothing to do with skullduggery or witchcraft. It has everything to do with the solar minimum forecast. And we are headed into the grand solar minimum, deeper than the Dalton minimum. And I think that this forecast is a little weak, but still showing that 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years or more in a cold phase. Here's cycle 24. We still have 25, 26 to go negative. We have plenty of time. Britain faces a 3-week chill with temperatures set to drop to minus 12°C, and experts warning the freeze could claim 40,000 lives. That's serious. Forecasters believe we're facing the coldest December since 2010's Big Freeze, which saw transport networks grind to a halt as snow caused chaos across the country. Now we're just repeating the past. You can see here, this is the current solar cycle, 24 we're in, live, where we're at. And you can see that the 2009 and 10 winters were record across North America, because we were at solar minimum. Now, guys, we still have several years, and we're going to fall below the baseline here. We're going to hit 0. We're going to rest on it. But as far as watts per meter, it's going to be less than the last minimum. And that means that if you just look here and where the equivalent is over in this cycle, we're still 1, 2, 3 years out from the minimum. At least 2. So we're talking 2 more winters getting increasingly and exponentially colder. And snow records following suit. Bookmakers have slashed odds of a white Christmas, and heavy snow is expected in the north and as far south as Essex and London. Britain risks a rerun of some of December's 2010 mayhem, and then some. And moving forward next year and the year after as well, heads up UK. With forecast snow and ice, meaning some roads are set to be impassable, trains halted, planes risking cancellations, football matches facing being frozen off. December shivers nudging minus 12°C even in the south, where forecast by the weather company in the Weather Outlook. Heads up, sheep. You're going to need that wool. Look at that guy. He's got it. He's awesome. Farmer. Of course he's awesome. He's a farmer. Winter death warnings as temperatures plummet and forecasters predict prolonged period of freezing cold. Heads up, UK. We're going to be covering this. Extreme weather pattern change may mean cold and stormy mid-December in eastern U.S. We'll cover that. I'll leave you links to all this. This is coming, folks. Now we have Indian summer across North America currently. What do I mean by that? There, boom. Here's the temperature versus average for today through the 30th. So we're looking at above average across the U.S. They've had some record warms here through this swath, including in Denver here. And it's going to be followed up by a blizzard. Welcome to the grand solar minimum. This is about to come and sit right here. And it's headed your way, East Coast. It's going to take a few weeks. So here's the snowfall forecast, just a few inches in the next 2 days over in the west. You're going to get buried in the Sierras, another at least foot to 2 feet in some areas, and up here in Washington. over the next 2 days. This is the 48-hour snow forecast, even though temperatures are above normal. Here's the 29th through 30th. And then that temperature anomaly gets pushed away. And December 2nd through 7th, California, you've been asking for it. Hello, chilly. This is 6 degrees once you get to green here, below norm. So you're going to be dropping out 20 degrees colder than you're seeing right now in the first week of December. Hello. And then this is going to move east and cover the entire East Coast for the last 3 weeks of December. But look what happens in the first week of December. Whew. Hello. The snowpack in North America is going to start to build early in significant ways. I told you that it doesn't snow here until Christmas in this type of fashion, 3 feet. So if we start getting snows like this, by Christmas we should have 20 feet in the mountains. It's a heads up. It's happening and we're watching it, we're documenting it. And they're reporting the obfuscation from the truth. Obviously, if you look at the mainstream, it's the hottest ever, and it's this, is that, and the other. And now look at this. The lower 48 states snow cover is record low. Total nonsense. It is true. The lower 48 is at record low right now, but it's also true that the fall northern hemisphere snow extent is epically increasing. Look at the last 6 years. Boom! Even coming from NOAA. Straight up. Last 5 years, boom! Straight up. So don't let this lower 48 nonsense fool you. Because this is about to be the lower 48. 3 feet of snow in southwestern Colorado, anomalously early. 3 weeks early. The snow is going all the way down here in southern Arizona in the 3 feet range. Heads up, Arizona, you're about to get a white Christmas. So don't believe the hype. It's a sequel. This is just nonsense. Record low snow cover, and they're showing a snow picture. What you're going to read here is that it's not, even though it's record snow, it's still cold. And they say it's still cold. Yeah, well, the snow's coming. And they're telling you right here. Heads up. Volcano update. I covered Bali this morning because it was erupting and needed to be covered early because you weren't going to get the truth from the media. Volcano gushing ash over Bali closes airport for a second day. I'll leave you this is the most recent article I could find. Indonesia's National Disaster Mitigation Agency rose the volcano's alert to its highest. The exclusion zone is 6 miles. We can come live. Do the live stream here at CCTV. Aktivitas Gunung Agung dari Bukit Asha Kadagisim. I don't know what that means, but it's about to come up. We can look at a Lahar flow here. This is coming from the Watchers. Great article. It's got some great tweets, and it shows you these cold lavas. They're calling them cold lavas. And these are lahars. These are mud flows coming from the steam, ash from up high. And these people shouldn't be near there because they could change depth by 10 feet instantaneously. They would see this wall coming, which is called their death. So people are just stupid creatures. You don't stand near a lahar because sometimes there's a 20-foot wall about to come. And look at these people on the bridge. They'd be dead too. So do not do what they're doing ever. Move away from a volcano and continue to move away from a volcano. You do not go towards it or go towards anything flowing unless you want to risk your life. Now these lahars and mud flows just began today, and this is footage from today. I'll leave you links to that. This is live at Agung. Now the cloud cover has come in, so there's very little visibility, but you can see the ash up here in the approaching the stratosphere. Now, someone commented today that they're not claiming this is a major eruption. It has to go above 30,000 feet. But guys, there is no baseline where the stratosphere starts. Hypothetically, the stratosphere starts at 30,000 feet. So some of this material is getting into the stratosphere and being trapped in the upper atmosphere, I assure you, regardless of what anyone thinks. Look at how thick and the density of this material. So this is like a miniature nuclear winter that's happening on this island locally. It's a heads up. There's very low light underneath of the cloud especially. And the particulates and aerosols may be increasing to this cloud cover. So I'll leave you links to this live stream. It's pretty nice to watch. And it's going to be dark there shortly, so you'll be able to see the magma flow. It's a heads up, Agung erupting. So let's quick talk about the troposphere, stratosphere, and mesosphere. Once you get above 30 miles, guys, you're escaping into space. 40 miles is space. You can start to see space up here in the 25-mile zone. Here's the ozone layer between around 15 miles up. Sky planes fly up here. The highest weather balloon, a guy jumped out up here once in the late 60s with a parachute on. And here's where the clouds occur. The highest stratus and cirrus up in the 40,000 foot range. The majority of the weather makers up to 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers is where this is erupting. So it's just coming up here at the cusp of the tropopause, and meaning some of these aerosols are getting up here in the commercial jet lane. So this is in the stratosphere, and it hasn't stopped. So that's a heads up. We're still watching it. It could increase in intensity, but this is a massive amount of material that's being ejected into our atmosphere at the troposphere stratosphere boundary. Heads up, seismic alert. 5.3 in Whittier, Alaska was felt in Anchorage and others. No damage or injuries reported. 6.0 in Papua New Guinea this morning. Keeping the seismic uptick in this area alive. But the seismicity has dropped off over the last 12 hours, as you can see. And this is because of perturbations to our shield because of the incoming coronal hole stream and that plasma filament ending the low KP. It's a heads up there. We're going to be watching the filament as it arrives sometime tomorrow. Real quick, we're going to talk about Texas. Here's a Pecos fault, and these are Frack quakes. So let's get on with the Texas Frack nonsense. Drilling reawakens sleeping faults in Texas and leads to earthquakes. Yes, we know this. It's now becoming mainstream, so they're discussing it more. These are frack quakes in the Mississippi embayment, which are very dangerous. There's been a moratorium and deep injection in this area because it's on the New Madrid Fault. But you can just see the frack quakes across the U.S. that are verified here in Texas. And now we have this uptick in Pecos area. The USGS today coming out with this article. It's reporting its 7th earthquake in the last month near Pecos. This is frack related. So you can get a heads up on what's happening in the subsurface here. Same thing that happened to Agung. You put enough pressure and material in the subsurface, it cracks. Boom. That's a heads up. We're going to end on this great book that's coming out, and it just got reviewed from sciencenews.org. Climate Foiled Europeans' Early Exploration of North America. A Cold Welcome examines how the Little Ice Age and other factors shaped colonial history by Diana Steele. Now, this book is going to glean you some insight into what our future holds. Meaning our future, the very near future. The next 10, 20, 30 years are going to bring on a climatic shift, the likes of which society hasn't seen since the 1800s. And I'm going to suggest to you that this particular graph from Herrera 2015 et al. is A moderate attempt to explain what will happen and the potential for this to drop further than what is graphed here is very high. And we really won't have any guidance until about 2030 into what the future holds for our sun. So that's a heads up. No one knows. What we have is the past, we have the current models, and the unfortunate thing is that our sun is now turning off in ways that are proven by the Ulysses spacecraft. The magnetosphere of the Earth is waning. So all these things together are going to drop this much lower. And there are other factors also. But we're just going to give a moderate idea of the potential shift in climate in your lifetime, similar to the ones experienced by early Europeans. Many people may be fuzzy on the details of North America's colonial history between Columbus's arrival in 1492 and the Pilgrims landing on Plymouth Rock in 1620. But Europeans were actively attempting to colonize North America from the early 16th century onward, even though few colonies survived. As historian Sam White explains in A Cold Welcome, most early attempts were doomed by fatally incorrect assumptions about geography and climate, poor planning and bad timing, and a complete lack of information about the activity of the sun. White weaves together evidence of past climates and written historical records in a comprehensive narrative of these failures. One contributing factor: explorers assumed climates at the same latitude were the same worldwide. But in fact, ocean currents play a huge role in moderating land temperatures, which means Western Europe is warmer and less variable in temperature from season to season than Eastern North America at the same latitude. On top of that, explorations occurred during a time of global cooling known as the Little Ice Age, which stretched from the 13th to the early 20th centuries. The height of exploration may have occurred at the peak of cooling. Starting in the late 16th century, a series of volcanic eruptions likely chilled the northern hemisphere by as much as 1.8 degrees Celsius below the long-term average. This cooling gave Europeans an especially distorted impression of the new lands. For instance, not long after Spanish explorer Sebastian Elcano landed in California's Monterey Bay in December 1602, men's water jugs froze overnight. An unlikely scenario today. Unfortunately, will be the scenario in the future. Weather dissuaded Spain from further attempts at colonizing California for over a century. Heads up, California. It appears that you get quite cold at certain times during these minimums. Harsh weather also heightened conflict when unprepared Europeans met Native Americans whose own resources were stretched thin by unexpectedly bad growing seasons. That's a heads up to crop failure. The natives knew how to grow food and wild harvest, and their resources were stretched thin. Now think about the society we live in today, where everyone thinks food comes from Wawa or the Mini Mart or the Super Mart or whatever, wherever you buy your food. Children think food comes from supermarkets. When I show children food comes from trees and plants, some of them are sickened. They're like, oh, it's dirty. It is disgusting how we are raising our children. A Cold Welcome is organized largely by colonial power, which means findings on climate are repeated in each chapter. But White's synthesis of climate and history is novel, and readers will see echoes of today's ignorance about the local consequences of climate change. Human psychology may be both too quick to grasp at false patterns and yet too slow to let go of familiar expectations, White writes. This is a very telling book about a very telling future that we all are living. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so now. Give us support on our Patreon, become a member, get free seeds, access to our greenhouse designs, and you can come and stay at the ranch for free. You can even get discounts on your own customized tiny home so that you're ready to move in an instant. Be safe.